The disorders covered in this unit are the depressive disorders and the sleep-wake disorders. There seems to be a bi-directional relationship between depression and insomnia. Many people with depression report that disturbed sleep is the first symptom they experience when beginning a depressive episode, and we have clear evidence that affect becomes more depressed following sleep deprivation. In order to address concerns about the potential for the overdiagnosis of and treatment for bipolar disorder in children, a new diagnosis, disruptive mood dysregulation disorder, referring to the presentation of children with persistent irritability and frequent episodes of extreme behavioral discontrol, is added to the depressive disorders for children up to 12 years of age. Its placement in this chapter reflects the finding that children with this symptom pattern typically develop unipolar depressive disorders or anxiety disorders rather than bipolar disorders as they mature into adolescence and adulthood. Major depressive disorder represents the classic condition in this group of disorders. It is characterized by discrete episodes of at least 2 weeks duration, although most episodes last considerably longer, involving clear-cut changes in affect, cognition, and neurovegetative functions and inter-episode remissions. A diagnosis based on a single episode is possible, although the disorder is a recurrent one in the majority of cases. Careful consideration is given to the delineation of normal sadness and grief from a major depressive episode. Bereavement may induce great suffering, but it does not typically induce an episode of major depressive disorder. When they do occur together, the depressive symptoms and functional impairment tend to be more severe, and the prognosis is worse compared with bereavement that is not accompanied by major depressive disorder. Bereavement-related depression tends to occur in persons with other vulnerabilities to depressive disorders, and recovery may be facilitated by antidepressant treatment. A more chronic form of depression, persistent depressive disorder, can be diagnosed when the mood disturbance continues for at least 2 years in adults or 1 year in children. This diagnosis, new in DSM-5, includes both the DSM-4 diagnostic categories of chronic major depression and dysthymia. After careful scientific review of the evidence, premenstrual dysphoric disorder has been moved from an appendix of DSM-4 to the regular section of DSM-5. Almost 20 years of additional research on this condition has confirmed a specific and treatment-responsive form of depressive disorder that begins sometime following ovulation and remits within a few days of menses and has a marked impact on functioning. A number of features that may be associated with the depressive disorders are identified in DSM-5. These associated features are not coded in the numerical diagnosis, but are included in the written diagnosis. On the other hand, severity ratings are coded numerically in the diagnosis. There are 4 types of general sleep-wake disorders, 3 types of breathing-related disorders, and 4 parasomnias identified in DSM-5. The 4 types of general sleep disorders are insomnia, hypersomnolence, narcolepsy, and circadian rhythm sleep disorders. Hypersomnolence is excessive sleepiness in spite of adequate opportunity for sleep, while narcolepsy is characterized by recurrent episodes of irrepressible need to sleep. In insomnia, the person has difficulty initiating sleep, sustaining sleep, or awakening early in the morning. In circadian rhythm sleep disorders, the person is out of sync with the time in their environment, somewhat like being constantly jet-lagged. There are morning types, evening types, and a shift work type. 2 items on the Level 1 measure identify the need for further inquiry: little interest or pleasure in doing things, and feeling down, depressed, or hopeless. There are 2 different Level 2 measures for depression suggested by DSM-5 for a more in-depth evaluation of depressive symptoms or to measure progress over the course of treatment. They are available on the DSM-5 website. Notice that both of them are focused on the past 7 days, and so are not sensitive to persistent depressive disorder. It is useful to look over the items and scoring in some detail to help with the severity ratings. Even if you don't have your clients fill out one of these measures, you can look at them and do a rating for severity. The sleep disturbance measure is from the PROMISE project and targets insomnia. It won't help in the diagnosis of the other sleep-wake disorders. It has 8 items, scoring ranges from 8 to 40, and severity ratings are included. 25 to 29 is mild severity, 30 to 37 is moderate severity, and 38 to 40 is severe. Most of the DSM-5 depressive disorders code in the mood disorders chapter of ICD-10. The exception is premenstrual dysphoric disorder, which is found in the N chapter, diseases of the genitourinary system. The question marks in the DSM-5 and ICD-10 numerical diagnoses for major depressive disorder are where the severity specifiers are placed. Most of the sleep-wake disorders are coded in the G chapter, diseases of the nervous system, in ICD-10. The only exception to this is that some of the parasomnias are coded in the F50 chapter of ICD-10, which is titled Behavioral Syndromes Associated with Physiological Disturbances and Physical Factors.